In Michigan's Upper Peninsula, there lies an iron range, the Marquette Iron Range, home to some of the state's best railroading action. By the time October rolls around each year, the season change is in full swing, and it isn't all unheard of for snow to fly early enough to make even the most seasoned Yooper show a little bit of grief. However, on October 8th, 2017, the Iron Range was awash in sun and the temperatures still nowhere near freezing, with the leaves in the midst of their color change. This is a fall day of action in Marquette's Iron Range, presented by the Thornapple River Rail Series. Right off the bat, just before 9 in the morning, LS&I's 7 Tilden job is already dragging their first run of ore from the Tilden mine back for Eagle Mills. Seen here near the old Tracey Mine, the overburden pile from Empire looms large in the distance, among the highest points in the entire state of Michigan. They're quickly upon Eagle Mills Junction, where they take the diverging route for Eagle Mills, while the main line to Ishpeming continues on to the left. After tying down that cut in the yard at Eagle Mills, they return with a set of empties, which we find at Empire Junction. Beyond the junction, the railroad branch to the Empire and Tilden mines pass through the overburden piles seen earlier, man-made mountains which tower over the surrounding terrain and certainly dwarf the railroad below, and even include 2 tunnels so mine trucks can pass overhead. While awaiting the return of the 7 Tilden, the scanner crackled with the CNL 539, a rarity in daylight on this end of the railroad, first seen at Eagle Mills Junction. Usually, the daytime run is from Champion to Lawns, with the nighttime crew finishing this end of the circuit, running Champion to Partridge. With no work in Lawns for the day, they're running back to Partridge this morning, giving us the opportunity to railfan the line from the LS&I to as far as Ishpeming. With their pickup at Partridge quickly complete, they're back through Eagle Mills Junction, taking the left-hand route for points west. At one point, much of the LS&I was CTC controlled, but today many of the signals outside the Empire to Eagle Mills corridor have been removed from service and turned away from the track. The yard at Ishpeming is shared by the CN, LS&I, and Mineral Range railroads, with the CN crews for the line towards Lawns being called out of this office. With no need to run all the way to Champion, the crew pulls up to the yard office and shuts everything down, awaiting tomorrow's turn to Lawns. With nobody else due to run, parking on the yard leads of this once busy yard simply is not a problem these days. With the afternoon upon us, the 3 p.m. shift of the LS&I begins with the 3 Tilden job taking bentonite clay and sodium hydroxide down to the mine. These are critical additives to the iron ore refining process, with the sodium hydroxide in use as part of separating the iron from waste rock, and the clay as a binding agent for the concentrated ore pellets themselves. Also operating this shift is the 3-yard hill, charged with taking the loads, completed by 7 Tilden earlier, down to the yard in Marquette for eventual unloading into the dock and then onto Great Lakes ships. Towards the bottom end of the hill near Forestville, the railroad created a fill across a shallow lake, creating an idyllic scene interrupted briefly by the passing of the ore train. An hour later, the train returns upgrade with empties to be returned to the mine. Back up at the top of the hill at the entrance to Eagle Mills, the train crosses over Morgan Creek on the second largest bridge on the railroad behind the Dead River Bridge, which is the tallest in the state. With permission into Eagle Mills by the LS&I control operator, they complete the pull into the yard at Eagle Mills to leave their train for the Tilden job to complete the run back to the mine, while they grab the other loaded train for another run down the hill. So for our final shot of the day, we are just past the Dead River Bridge, for a final run by of the loaded 3-yard hill as the fall sun expires behind the trees. Thanks for watching this edition of the Thornapple River Rail Series. Leave a like and subscribe for more from the series dedicated to railroading throughout Michigan's Upper Peninsula and beyond.